The players are reacting to the Astros, people. The Astros issued what we might generously call an apology. I mean, they said the right words.
That's right. Yeah, they did. Yeah, the right words, the wrong tone, right? Is that what it was?
Listen, my whole life, my dad has taught me, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, okay? So for all of you watching and listening, just put that in your hip pocket, okay? It's not what you say, ever. It's how you say it. This is a prime example, okay? I can apologize to you all day with this big smile on my face, and you're not going to feel any remorse from me because it's not genuine, okay? That's how that works. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
Yep. That's exactly right. And I feel like everybody around the league has it right. And, I said last week that the guy who had it right was Carlos Correa because he did sound sincere about it, right?
He did.
So, like we said, he said that they weren't using a buzzer, and that's my credibility. But then he wouldn't stop talking. He wouldn't shut up. And all his credibility did go out the window.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's gotten to be a bigger mess than I think anybody anticipated, like ever.
I agree 100% with you. Let's get into some of these.
Yeah.
First, I'm going to highlight David Robertson, who pitches for Philadelphia and is a national treasure, by the way. He said that what they did, it is a disgrace, what they have done, and they're going to have to live with it, and everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
Is that enough, though? I don't know.
We'll get into this more in a little bit, but according to Rob Manfred, it is because like he said, if you look at their faces, they're just beat up about it. No, they're not.
No.
We talked about that last week too. That you can rehearse looking like you feel bad about something. You can practice, the because that's what it looked like was going on at the press conference.
And for those of you watching on YouTube, you have just been treated to that, I'm sure.
yes. Exactly. A classic.
Very good.
Yeah. Why don't you keep going? Go ahead and keep going, Brig. I think you've got the best delivery on these.
Oh, thank you. Roy Oswald. Okay, he's retired, but he spent 10 of his 13 years in Houston. Okay, he said. So let me get this right. You steal signs and you get fired. Okay, but you do steroids, you get millions of dollars in contracts, and then inducted into the Hall of Fame. Yeah. Hashtag makes no sense.
Yeah.
Now that hasn't happened yet, but it.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say
table.
I do have to disagree with him on the Hall of Fame part because nobody's gotten in yet. But the millions of dollars and in contracts, yeah, that definitely did happen.
Totally.
And we still could see the millions of dollars in contracts from. I mean, we have actually from stealing signs, right?
Absolutely.
Because it. From everything that I've heard of players and former players saying when they know what pitch is coming, that inflates your batting average because it increases by several points is an understatement, but by a considerable amount.
Well, and Giancarlo Stanton said that in 2017 when he went on his tear, that if he'd have known what was coming, he'd have hit 80 home runs.
Yes, and his president at the time, David Sampson, said he probably would have hit 100 because he couldn't lay off a two strike slider. If he'd have been able to lay off a two strike slider, he would have hit close to 100, which may have been the case. I don't know.
Also, hashtag David Sampson, not my president. Okay, moving on. So, just kidding. I literally am not a political person. That was just I couldn't help it. Okay. So
might scrub that. Might
Marwin,
scrub that part.
you might just keep it. I don't know. Put it in the mailbag or the grab bag episode.
The grab bag.
Yeah. So Marwin Gonzalez said, "I'm remorseful for everything that happened in 2017, for everything that we did as a group, and for the players that were affected directly by us doing this. That's why I feel more regret." And that's why I'm remorseful. That was his statement. He's obviously, he was a member of the team at the time. So
right.
But let's. What do you think of that one?
Well, I mean, he definitely said the right words, like we said, right?
Yes.
I mean, he may have had some coaching, but he doesn't play for the Astros anymore. So
Totally.
he may have had some more input. He plays for the Twins, for anybody who doesn't know. He may have had some more input from other players, guys on his current team who said, dude, that was messed up what you guys did. And he has legitimate outside sources coming into him saying what he did was wrong. And so he has a better understanding of it and possibly does feel legitimately remorseful for it.
Well, there's a lot to be said about having an outside perspective. And you get caught up in something like this. Like, not everybody. There's some people driving it, and there's some people against it. And then there's everybody in the middle who just kind of gets caught up in it. I mean, that's how social dynamic works. And so there's no way to avoid this. You know, if this kind of thing occurs, then there are those people on those different there's different places on the spectrum, right?
Right.
So you're right. Maybe he does get caught up in it. But what I'm saying is, once you do step away from that, and you're not caught up in that vacuum or that jet stream, it really is eye-opening. So maybe he really is genuinely remorseful because he's on the outside. I don't know. I think you're right, though.
Yeah. Well, and another outside perspective, I mean, the guy who's being called the whistleblower, Mike Fiers, he plays for the A's currently, right?
Yes.
Well, Jonathan Lucroy came out this week, and he said that when Fiers came over, he let Lucroy know, because Lucroy is a catcher, he let him know, hey, these guys are stealing signs. This is what's going on over there. I know everybody suspected it, but it is really happening. And, you know, we can get into a whole thing about everybody suspecting it and it getting swept under the rug later.
Sure.
But the fact that Lucroy was told that, he said, against the Astros, I was changing my signs every pitch. Now, typically, a catcher will change up the signs if there gets to be a runner on second. Or if they feel like the runner on second, you know, they may not change it up when that runner's on second, or they feel like there is a runner on second who is actually picking off their signs.
Right, yeah, totally.
It's not common to change up signs when there's nobody on base. You do not do that, because the less you have to mix up the signs, the less you have to change things up for the pitcher, the better. The fact they are changing them every pitch regardless, that's absurd. That is absolutely absurd that they were this afraid, and who knows how many times they got crossed up. That could affect Lucroy contractually, because if they get crossed up and there ends up being a pass ball, that's on Lucroy. That goes negatively towards his stats.
Yes.
And teams may look at him and say, oh, you know, he's a little bit of a liability defensively.
Which is ridiculous, because if you watched him play in Baltimore, okay, he was in charge of the entire field. He knew what was going on. He was hustling as much as or better than anybody else. I watched that guy chase foul balls in foul territory constantly. He was correcting umpiring crews about rules that they didn't quite remember. But he'd say, no, this is the rule. The dude is a wizard of baseball knowledge.
Well, and you think about it, he got traded from Cleveland to Texas, to the Rangers.
Yeah.
And the only reason he went to the Rangers, I mean, he was the best catcher in the game at the time. And what it was, he had, I mean, this is a little bit of a side note, but the guy has priorities, and they're very clear. He almost got traded to the Cubs that year. I think it was 2016. I'll have to look it up real quick. But he could have gone to the Cubs, and he said, "No, I don't want to go to the Cubs. They're gonna platoon me." So he accepted a trade to the Rangers instead.
Yeah,
because he had priorities. He wanted to play.
That's right.
What he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So,
well, and now he's
sorry. It was Milwaukee. It was Milwaukee to Texas in 2016.
Milwaukee. Okay.
Yeah. So he could have won a World Series ring that year.
Yeah.
But he chose to play insteed.
So then here's the other thing, too. He just got signed on a minor league deal this season.
Yes. Yes, he did.
I saw that and was like, what? And I didn't think about it in the way you're proposing, but I think you might be onto something, because if what we've seen from him is what he's capable of, and he's being devalued at this level, then that just lends credibility to what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I mean, the other thing is he is 33 and he's a catcher.
Sure.
So that goes into it. But at the same time, like, who knows if maybe he got crossed up because he had to be so complex in Oakland. I don't know.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's just a thought I had and thought I'd throw it out there.
Speaking of batteries, that was a really great point. Let's talk about Trevor Bauer.
He's getting to be one of my favorite guys.
Me too. You know what? First of all, that was a terrible segue. So I apologize. Second of all, I agree with you. I hated Trevor Bauer and his loud mouth and his weird things, his warm up routine and all his publicity grabbing and stuff,
and his throwing the ball into the center field fence.
Yeah. Yes. Okay, but now I'm like his champion. I'm like carrying his banner.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. Yeah. I think because he now that he's being so outspoken, it's like, yeah, that's how I feel too. Oftentimes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So here's what Trevor Bauer said. He said, let's say, this is his February 13th tweet. Okay, for those of you that aren't Twitter poopy pants. He said, let's say someone messes up. Okay, he put a poll on Twitter. Let's say someone messes up bigly even. Which we have to applaud. I mean, let's just give credit where credit's due. Messes up bigly even. And the truth is that they really don't care about messing up at all. In fact, they would do it all over again, and you know this. Asking for a friend, would you rather receive a fake apology or the truth?
I mean, he's spot on. He's spot on there.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Yep. I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. He's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
I think he's just got this real meaty. For those of you that haven't seen the video of Trevor Bauer talking about Rob Manfred and how disconnected he is from the game, was it on Momentum or the Players Tribune or something? Like, he goes on this.
It was on Momentum.
Momentum.
It was on He did write something for the Players Tribune, but that video was on Momentum.
Yeah. And he we got to find a way to put a link in the doobly-doo or whatever so that people
I will. I'll put a link in the doobly-doo.
Okay, that will tip. Some of you know what I mean when I say the doobly-doo, and now we're best friends. So, okay, so Mike Trout, let's talk about what he said. Okay.
Now, before you get into that, I feel like this is the tell of how important this really is. Like, how big of a deal this is, because Mike Trout doesn't say a word to anybody about anything.
Never.
And he's been criticized even by Rob Manfred for it. So for him to come out and speak negatively about this, it's a big deal. Makes it a really big deal. So proceed.
Thank you, sir. This is his direct quote. He said, "It's tough. They cheated. I don't agree with the punishments. The players not getting anything. It was a player-driven thing. It sucks, too, because guys' careers have been affected. A lot of people lost jobs. It was tough. Me going up to the plate knowing what was coming, it would have been pretty fun up there. I lost respect for some guys." For some guys.
Yeah, some guys. Coming from a guy who seems, at least he appears to be the most respectful guy in baseball.
One of.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely one of the most respectful guys. And that came from an article we found on ESPN by Alden Gonzalez. He's a baseball staff writer. And in that article, he also said that some guys reached out to Trout to explain what happened, but it didn't seem to make much of a difference in his opinion. It's pretty heavy, guys.
Pretty heavy.
Pretty heavy.
In his very muted way.
Yeah.
Okay, now...
Yeah, because he wasn't one of those guys who was going to be all animated about it. He
No.
just they cheated. I would have been fun.
And I'm a little upset because of the impact that it's had on, by the way, I'm upset. Okay, let's move on. So...
Well, especially as a division opponent.
Totally.
They play him a lot.
A lot.
So that's got to be that's probably part of the reason it's so upsetting.
Okay, so let's talk about the dissenting opinions. Let's go to the other side of the argument, okay? So David Ortiz, first of all, Rob Manfred said, "Get over yourself." in not so many words. He's like, get over it.
Yeah.
Jim Crane, the owner of the Houston Astros, said it didn't affect the game at all. But he spent all morning apologizing and getting his players to apologize before the media, all of a minute and a half of apologies or whatever it was from the players. Mm-hmm. And then in the afternoon said, but it didn't affect the game. Let's move on. We won it fair and square. We're still World Series champions. Get over it. Which seems to have been supported by the commissioner or something. I don't know exactly where he stands, but he's clearly wanting to move on too. Now,
yeah, he is. Sorry, go ahead.
If you're going to say something about that, you should say it now.
Well, the whole thing where he was saying taking away a piece of metal isn't going to do anything.
Bro.
That's where I was headed next. The fact that was his retort, that it basically saying the World Series trophy is meaningless, taking it away isn't going to do anything. It's like, no, clearly you don't understand the meaning of a trophy. I can say that a few years ago I led a group of little leaguers to a city championship, and I got a plastic trophy, and my buddy and I looked at each other and we said, this trophy is the one that I'm most proud of in my entire life.
Absolutely. Yes.
The fact that you can hold, it was a piece of plastic, and we were so happy about it. And we're adults. We're adults in a piece of plastic. Come on.
Yes.
I can't imagine what that is. Those guys have worked their entire lives to get there, and to call it a piece of metal. And Justin Turner was not happy about it.
Oh, Justin
was
Turner.
saying the only thing that devalues it is the fact that the commissioner's name is on it. And at that point, it's getting to be. He's got a point.
Yeah, I was pretty upset. I'm still upset. I'm glad you talked about it because I was going to avoid it because I can't. I don't know what to say, but it's not good. And this is a family-friendly broadcast. So
it's a family show, Brig. Watch your mouth.
Listen, my Army vocabulary, let's call it, is I call it my occupational hazard. Even though I'm retired now. Anyway, here's the point. David Ortiz came out and said, "Oh, so now talking about Fires? How do you say his name?
Fires.
Yeah, leave me alone." So, Fires came out and made his comment. And so David Ortiz, Big Papi, comes out and he says, "Okay, so after you made your money and you got your ring, now you decide to talk about it. Why didn't you talk about it during the season when it was going on? Why didn't you say, hey, I don't want to be a part of this?" Right? You look like a snitch. Because, he snitched.
Right, and I get that. Because there's such thing as locker room etiquette.
Yes.
Right? Clubhouse etiquette. So I understand. It doesn't make it right, but I understand where he's coming from with saying that, because that's the mentality guys have. You're taught that in high school, if not before, about locker room etiquette.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But I do feel like Fires, on the other hand, I can understand why he wouldn't want to say anything there at that time, because he doesn't know how long he's going to be there. He doesn't want to be ostracized in his own clubhouse.
Nobody wants that. Yes.
Right? So I can see why he wouldn't come forward, but on the other hand, say something internally, but I guess they knew about it top to bottom, so they probably wouldn't have done anything.
It's been made very clear, I think, that it was top to bottom. Jim Crane's comments during the press conference and his ardent sort of dismissal, I guess. I don't know. How can you be ardently dismissive? But that's what it sounds like. Anyway, it just makes me think, like, come on, dude, you totally knew what was going on.
Yeah, he did. He absolutely did. The fact they had a code, like the code name Code Breakers or whatever. Everybody knew. Everybody knew what it was.
Systemic fraud. Fraud, bro. Lifetime bans. You get a lifetime ban. You get a lifetime ban. You get a lifetime ban. So
now let's talk about that for a second, because a lot has been said about that over the last couple weeks since this whole thing came down. That the reason that Manfred did not punish the players, and everybody across the league is not happy about it. Like nobody is happy that the players weren't punished.
Everybody but them players.
Well, yeah, even the MLBPA came out and said that they should have been punished, which is funny to me, because the reason he didn't even try to punish them was because of the union.
Yes.
Okay, and that says to me that he didn't even try to take this to the union to to punish them.
Exactly right.
He was just like, I don't want that fight. I don't want to make that fight. We're just not going to punish him. We'll give him immunity. That'll be the end of it. If he had even gone to the union and said, this is what we're thinking about doing, what do you think? He maybe could have negotiated.
Here's our evidence. What would you do?
What would I do?
He could have gone to them and said, look, we have this developing, growing body of evidence, and I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place. What would you have me do?
Yeah. He was trying to avoid any kind of confrontation because he's afraid of the union, and I called him a jellyfish in episode 3, and I still stand by it. He has no spine.
You did. You sure did. And I applaud you, Brad.
Yeah,
that's some grade A poopy pantsery right there. It's nice.
It feels a little bit more like curmudgeonry.
Maybe it is curmudgeonry. We'll figure it out.